Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm deeply in love with all things beautiful that make life bloom. I believe that with every step we take, we can make life grow stronger. Some think that's a struggle, but I think that it can be done in all sorts of fun and enjoyable ways. That is why I started to film the Life Keeper's Diaries. Here is where I share my views of beauty, my ways of giving back to life, and my sparkles of creativity. I think those are exactly the ways of how to fill life with joy and love for ourselves and others. That is the way of a life keeper.
Yesterday, there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane. And as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise. And now, there's something in the air, and a sparkly shimmer on our skin, restoring everything within. Dreamy, breezy, we go. Easy, easy on our tiptoes, undercover agents of the other. Beyond gravel, beyond all. Hand in hand, building castles out of sand, reaching for the grand. As willows align, we lose track of time. Head up high, now we climb.
Today I'm climbing a lower mountain that is called Mount of Saint Jacob, here next to my town. It's quite a well-known spot for easy walks in nature. It's really beautiful and it has the most amazing view on top. But the main reason that I really like to come here in the early spring is that it has an abundance of really nice early spring herbs that I really like to pick here. The main two that I pick here are coltsfoot, in Slovene it's lapuh, and the other one is wild garlic that we call čemaž. And they are both really wonderful. The first one in teas and the other one has a huge variety of usage, but we like to make pesto out of it and to cook wild garlic soup, which is really tasty. So today I intend to forage those two, but if I'm lucky I'll also get some dandelion and lungworth. And we'll see what I find today, but otherwise, the whole package is really great because this is a really lovely path in nature. So I'm really happy that I get to do that today here. So join me on a foraging trip. But before we go into foraging, there are some really important things that I want to stress out about foraging. I really love doing that. I mean, what better way that is to take care of your health and well-being than finding things in nature? I mean, that should always be the first place to look for health for a human being. Well, it's getting more and more popular here in Slovenia, and I think also throughout the world. Well, because obviously it's pretty much for free, and just the whole procedure is really nice, and it's tasty and beautiful and everything. But then there are also some very important things that we should always think about when we do that. So one is the very obvious, you should always pick only the things that you really know, because we know that there are some poisonous and also deadly things in nature as well. There's a lot of information that you can find on the internet, in books as well, but I would also say, if you have any possibility, get in touch with somebody that is well knowledgeable in these things. Go out on a foraging trip with that person, because that's really the easiest way. For instance, today I want to pick some wild garlic, and that can be mistaken for lily of the valley, which is very poisonous. And a few years ago I went on a foraging trip with the best forager in Slovenia, and he told us how to distinguish the wild garlic from the other plants that are quite similar to that. But then there are also some points that are not often spoken about. To me, one of the main things that you should pay attention to is you should never pick all the plants that you get. You should always leave quite a lot of them in nature so that they can reproduce, and that we will be able to pick them in the following years. So you should always keep in mind that there needs to be something left for nature to reproduce, to maintain its cycles. So yeah, do it sustainably. And then the other thing is that you probably don't need as much as you intend to pick when you first started. There's just a certain amount of herbs that we can use throughout year, not just one season. And people tend to take huge amounts. I will pick a bit more this time, because I'm picking for myself, for my mom, for my sister, and for my boyfriend. I will take the amount that is appropriate for a whole bunch of us. And if you're alone, you really don't need too much of it. I mean, just take as much as you need, and then throughout years, just observe which herbs do you usually use, which herbs do you like the most, and how much of them you need. And don't take more than that, because there's more of us, and not only humans but also animals, and they need those as well. So again, let's be ethical, let's be sustainable, and let's be reasonable. And then another thing that is very important is that only take the parts of the plant that you need. So again, get yourself informed about the usage of a certain plant, and then also which part of it you need. So there are differences obviously between plants. Sometimes you need the roots, sometimes you need the blooms, sometimes you need the leaves. So it really depends. But especially if you need the roots, you need to be careful of how much you take. And if you don't need the roots, then don't take them. Don't pull the whole plant out. If it's hard to pick it, to break it, then take the scissors or a knife. Don't just pull it out, because that means that that plant will not reproduce and we will be left without it. Now the next thing is the quality of the soil, of the ground where you're foraging. So make sure that the soil is healthy, that it's not full of pesticides and artificial stuff, because, well, we all know that that's not really good and healthy for us. And if the soil is not good, the plant is not good as well. And now I would like to add, let's say, another layer of gratitude and respect for nature. And I would say, I don't know, if you feel like it, if you feel comfortable with it, say thanks to nature and to plants that you forage. And if you see that there are some bees or other animals that are feeding on the flowers that you want to pick, well, just leave them to finish their job, or leave them entirely and pick another flower, and just realize that we are not alone. It's not all about humans at all. You know, we are just a tiny part of the whole picture, and let's just cooperate well with nature and other creatures that create this world. And in the end, you know, it's better for all of us, because that's the most sustainable way, and it's also the most joyful way. So let's do it the right way, because it's really not that hard to do it. It's actually quite joyful and fulfilling. Yeah, so let's do it the good way. You will usually find coltsfoot in the dry soil and usually next to the roads or paths, so it's also quite important to find the place where you don't have too much of cars or other traffic. So here in this place there is a road next to this bank, but the thing is that usually there are no cars. But otherwise, this plant is best against asthma or bronchitis, or, you know, things connected to lungs, against cough and things like that. I think it's best to use a basket for foraging, but unfortunately I cannot find mine. I don't know where it is, so I just took one of my cotton bags, like an ordinary tote bag, and that's good as well. But rather don't use the plastic bags, because you know, these are fresh flowers. They can still breathe when you pick them, and you know, they're full of juices, so that evaporates, and it's not good if they get all soggy or wet inside the bag, especially if you're not returning home right away, and you'll be spending some time out and leaving the flowers in your bag. Just rather use something that they can breathe in. I've noticed that many people that get into foraging are again all about competition, about success, about achieving the most that they can. So when they start picking flowers, it's all about how fast can they do it and how much can they pick in the shortest amount of time possible. But that just so not the point. I mean, you go into nature to experience the whole package, not just grabbing what you can out of it, but enjoying it, spending time with yourself and nature, the cycles of life, the breath of life. So just take your time and stop for a moment and relax and let it speak to you. It has so much to tell you. I mean, just now I was observing the flowers of coltsfoot, and it's really amazing how they are all turned towards the sun. It's like, here we are, we're exposed to you. Refresh us and fill us with your power, with your light. And it's just so nice to see that this intelligence, this breath of life is in every tiniest part of nature, of this whole world, not just this world, just the whole universe. So, you know, even the tiniest of flowers, they are full of this same intelligence that we think, well, we tend to keep for ourselves, but it's just so not true. We are just a part of this intelligence. We are just one shape of this intelligence, and then the other parts of this world, they hold the different shades of it, but it's not less or more, it's just another way of showing it. Yeah, so take time, enjoy it, listen, be a part of it. I've just found a young, well, in Slovene it's called krompirjevka. And it's called krompirjevka by krompir, and krompir in Slovene is potato. And it's called krompirjevka because it actually smells completely like potatoes. I don't know the word in English because this is actually quite special for our area. I think it has a very limited area where it grows, so you cannot find it throughout the whole Europe, but it's really healthy. It's quite tasty as well. It doesn't taste like potatoes, it only smells like that, but otherwise it's really strong in vitamin C, so it's really good to eat it. And it has quite a long period of growth throughout year, so yeah, I'll be enjoying much of that also later in the season. This mountain behind me is called Zaplata, but it's best known for this piece of forest which you can see on the slope. It's actually preserved and maintained, but it has its own name, and it's called Hudičov, which would be translated something like Devil's Forest. And why is it a devil's forest? Well, there's a legend behind it, and the legend goes that there were two farmers and they were fighting, of course, over a piece of forest. And when one of them got way too angry, and in anger he shouted, "Well, may the forest be taken by the devil." And of course the devil came, it took off the forest, it threw it over its shoulder, and then it ran over this mountain. But just as the devil was about to cross the mountain, the sun rose, and of course the devil was afraid of the sun, so it wanted to hide from it on the other side of the mountain, but the forest was in its way because it was too heavy, so it dropped it here on the slope of the mountain, and here it still is.
How come the stars come to shine when it's dark from so far away and show us where we are? What makes the sun go to sleep every night, and what's it dreaming of? I wonder. How come the sky sometimes hides behind the clouds? Maybe it's just like me, a little bit scared of heights. Why does the rain always keep on pouring down when it's gray outside? It really makes me wonder. Yeah, it makes me wonder. It really makes me wonder. Undressed when it's cold, and don't they miss the leaves they left behind? Could it be to make the ground shine like gold until winter comes? Until winter comes, until winter comes. It really makes me wonder. Yeah, it makes me wonder. Stars come to shine when it's dark from so far away and show us where we are. It really makes me wonder. Yeah, it makes me wonder. Oh, I wonder. Oh, I just wonder.
Now, how do you know whether it's lily of the valley or the wild garlic? Well, it's important to know how they grow. So, lily of the valley has bundles where leaves grow together, like really covering each other, like this, you know. And in case of wild garlic, they grow separately. So, let's look at that. Now, these are still quite small. In just a few days, this whole area will probably be all green, covered in wild garlic. It is every year. But okay, let's look at this one. You see how it grows completely separate from others. There's space between them. So this means that this is wild garlic. Yeah. But then to make completely sure, you can squeeze it and smell it. And it has this really typical garlicish smell. And then you can also taste it. And again, garlic. So I suppose if you've never tried it, it's good to know that your breath will also have the garlicish smell. So if you want to kiss someone, maybe don't eat it fresh. But if you cook it, if you expose it to high temperature, all is fine. You won't have any smell. And you will have a very tasty soup or something else. So go ahead and use it because it's really tasty and it's also very, very good for your health. So yeah, very good. So I've had really the most wonderful day. I spent the day in a beautiful place and I have a full bag of goodies that I can take home and that I'm gonna be enjoying throughout the whole year. So I absolutely do recommend you as well going outside, getting to know your area, what nature offers you in your place, because that is absolutely the best place to look for the good, healthy and tasty things. You know, sometimes I make fun that once you become a forager, there's no way of going anywhere and coming back home empty-handed. So I'm really so happy that I have this practically at my doorstep. Yes, so I really hope that you enjoyed it too. That you've maybe learned something new, something useful, or got some inspiration out of my today's trip. And that's it for today from me. And I really hope you have lovely spring days and see you next time. Bye bye.